Yep, so I'm Paul Bryant. Everyone calls me Ernie, which they have for a number of years, and I've worked on the rescue helicopter in Nelson for the last 11 years. So I'm more of a proactive rester, so I'll feel better about a day having gone and done something than I would just sit at home watching TV. I mean, I still sit down and watch a movie or whatever, but yeah. So yeah, and I've got a number of different sort of things to unwind and forget about. It's a little bit harder in Nelson to leave work behind than it was in Auckland or the military, because the helicopter flies over my house every time they come back from the hospital. I know we fly over everyone's house, but they come over regularly, so even if you take leave and you're not away, it's really hard to get rid of the work bug, because all the time it's that's a helicopter noise. So community support in Nelson, coming here after having worked in Auckland, which is a big city and to a degree fairly impersonal, what I found here is that the Nelson Marlborough community buy into the fact that this helicopter is here for them, and I think part of the reason for that is because we're so visual. So in a big city environment, Christchurch, Auckland, Wellington, you don't see them the same. They zip off and do whatever. But here, we're forever, no matter which way we go, we're flying over houses, we're going into the hospital, which is in central Nelson. People see us. Yeah, I did. The most memorable one was a little boy that we winched out of the Kaiteri mountain bike park, and he busted his wing. And it was about 2 or 3 days later, and I saw him walking around the markets with his dad, and of course he had the old sling on and stuff, and I went, oh yeah, that's a little fella. So yeah, sometimes you do. No, there's members of, not necessarily immediate family, but of family that would rather that I worked at the petrol station instead of climbing into a helicopter at this age, and going off at 2 in the morning to go and help somebody. But maybe weather that's not so flash in the middle of the night and the pager goes off and you climb out of bed, and and then in the morning you're still not home, and it's like, I don't see that side of it, because it's like the old thing, I'm safe, I know what I'm doing, but they don't necessarily know. So yeah, I think for families it's probably a lot more difficult than we give them credit for. Keeping yourself hydrated and fed is a balancing act, because if you sit down and have a big feed and then go off and get a winch job, it can be quite weird. If you drink a lot of coffee or you're drinking water, particularly at this age, then you gotta pee. So, and you can't just stop on the side of a cloud and get out and have a pee and carry on. It's a balancing act here, making sure you've got enough to keep you nourished and whatever, but if you do too much of it, it has the same sort of effect. Communication, so in terms of having cell phone or locator beacon or telling people where you're going, because other than just going to a house somewhere or a road smash or something that's given to us, but going on the search sort of missions more, of people that are lost or injured outside of the township, having that communication to us, be it a locator beacon or a cell phone or whatever, is gold for us, because it narrows the field down on where we need to search, and then we can possibly, in some cases, we can talk to them. And we have on occasion been speaking to people and they go, I can hear you, and then we can hear ourselves coming back through, and we'll head in a direction, and then we disappear and we go, oh, wrong way. So spin around and come back until we can hear ourselves getting louder, or they say, oh, you're getting louder now. So that would be the one thing, would be letting people know where you're going, having some form of communication, and then when you do get into trouble, making yourselves as visible as possible, which in some cases you can't just because of the denseness of the bush, but certainly getting out into an open area or putting something brightly coloured up in a tree or whatever's going to help us would be the take home from there. Yeah, it makes our jobs so much easier.